Hey, everybody, I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for tuning in and spending a little time with me. I am Dr. Joe Esposito. I guess you knew that already, though, because the announcer just said that, didn't he? And what we're going to talk about today are things that you do every single day that damage your brain. Now, as a chiropractor, my job is to make sure that the brain and the nervous system are working the best they possibly can. So what happens is your brain, the way the body works, your brain sends messages down your spine, out your nerves, to every part of the body. So there's a nerve that goes to your heart, your lungs, your liver, your spleen, your thyroid, your kidneys. Everything has a nerve going to it. Two things will make a nerve malfunction, chemical or physical. Now, chemical would be food, drugs, alcohol, environmental toxins. So we do like to look at your diet when patients come in our offices because your diet may not be causing your healthcare problem, but your diet could be flaring up your healthcare problem. So, for example, I can't eat chocolate. If I eat chocolate, I get a headache. It's pretty simple. So don't eat chocolate then, right? So it's not a good food. And the thing is this, like some people say to me, well, Dr. Joe, I don't like fill in the blank, Brussels sprouts. Okay, I don't like Brussels sprouts. Okay. I don't like tofu. Okay. So does that mean you throw out the baby with the bathwater? No. You say, all right, I don't like Brussels sprouts, but there's about 120,000 other good foods that you can eat. So just because you don't like a thing, that doesn't mean you don't eat any of it. I mean, I know people that don't like fish, but they still eat chicken and beef. So you don't just say, I'm not going to eat any animal products because I don't like it. And I wish you would. I wish you wouldn't eat animal products. You'd be a lot healthier if you didn't. But it's kind of silly when I hear that. You know, I tried that tofu once and I didn't like it. Well, then don't eat tofu. It's fine with me. But you're doing a lot of things all day, every day that are damaging your brain. And as a chiropractor, like I said, I want to make sure the brain is getting the messages from the brain to the body and back up. And if you're doing chemically damaging things to your nervous system, you're not going to get all the results that you could be getting, either if you're my patient or not, because you're not taking care of the things you have control over. You might not be able to adjust your spine. I can't adjust my own spine. I have to see the doctors in my offices to adjust me. If my stomach is up against my diaphragm and I start burping, oftentimes that causes my heart to race or my blood pressure to go up because the same nerve that controls my stomach controls my heart. I'll have to grab one of my doctors and say, hey, pull my stomach away from my diaphragm. Adjust my neck, adjust my foot, adjust my shoulder. And so I have the benefit of having 5 other doctors at my beck and call. And you kind of do too. Certainly if you're near where we have offices, you have us at your beck and call as well. And we put the bones back in place. But now you have to take control of diet. And I tell people all the time when I do their nutritional workups on you, I can't make you do this. I think you should. I tell them about supplements. Now, I can't make you take supplements. I think you should. I take a handful of supplements every day. And I run circles around 20-year-olds. I could be their fathers. And I'm running around, their father, I guess. Their, okay, it's plural. Yeah, their father, right. And I run circles around them. My doctors say, Doc, how do you do it? You know, you can see twice as many patients, sometimes 3 times as many patients as the other doctors. Quality care. How do we do it? Because my body works normally. And that's what I want you, is I want you working normally. Not average, normal. Average is what everybody else is. I don't want you to be average. I want you to be normal. So a couple of things that can damage the brain, which can then affect you as my patient or not as my patient. One of them is missing out on sleep. Now, we've all been sleep deprived. We know what that feels like. And we do a few things that we shouldn't. We all know we do that. But some of these bad habits really take a toll on the brain. So if you're not getting enough sleep, that can actually lead to things like dementia, Alzheimer's. If you don't have regular sleeping habits, you got to get them. So let me teach you some things. And patients come to me all the time and say, well, Dr. Joe, I work the night shift, so I don't have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I said, yes, you do. You just have them at different times. The word breakfast means to break the fast. Isn't that cool? Break fast. And so you just fasted for 8 hours, 10 hours, however long you should have been sleeping. And now you're breaking your fast. So now if you come off a fast, whether it's every day or if you're actually doing it on purpose, I know I have one of my patients, he just went through a 7-day water fast, and I coached him through it. You got to come off slowly. You can't just say, I'm going to fast for 4 days and I'm going to have a double beef cheese hamburger, because the digestive system needs to kind of be warmed up again. So when you break your fast, whatever time of the day that is, you got to eat something light. slowly kind of coerce your digestive system into working again. So when I drive somewhere in the morning and I see these lines outside these fast food restaurants, people buying these chicken and beef and burgers and breads, and I'm thinking your digestive system can't handle this. And that's why you see so much gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, fatigue, which then long-term can lead to serious health issues. So to come off your sleep, whenever that is, I take Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source as my first thing in the morning because it's about 10 servings of raw fruits and vegetables in a powder form, prebiotics, probiotics, digestive enzymes, a complete multivitamin. It alkalizes my system, omega-3 fatty acids. So I'm giving my body easy to digest, easy to absorb nutrients. And that's how I start my day. But we're talking about sleep. So the best thing you can do is try to eat as far away from the time you go to sleep as possible. Because if you eat, that's going to start digesting food and you're going to generate energy. And so you don't want energy when you're sleeping. You want less energy when you're sleeping. So by skipping dinner at least once or twice a week, it's called intermittent fasting, you're going to do some amazing things for your sleep as well as your overall health. So intermittent fasting, I write about it in my new book, Prescription for Extreme Health, and it's a great way also to jumpstart your body if you're trying to lose weight and you hit a plateau. We need to jumpstart, and some people just get stuck and they go, I don't know what else to do. I don't care, I quit. No, take 2 days a week. And what I do is I don't plan it. So I'll go to work and I'll come home and I'll think, okay, I don't have any plans tonight, no dates, no friends, no nothing. I'm just going to skip dinner tonight. And I'll just skip dinner. And then your body gets a chance to rest. And it's not generating energy. In fact, now if it needs energy, it's going to start burning fat. So intermittent fasting is a real good way to get your sleep patterns back on track. Number 2, your room has to be totally dark. Because if light gets in your eyes, you stop producing melatonin. And melatonin is one of the chemicals in your brain that helps you sleep. So totally dark. I have blackout shades in my bedroom. If you can't get blackout shades, you can buy a mask at the drugstore for about $10, $5 probably. Put it over your eyes, and that'll help you sleep in total darkness, which is really important. If sound bothers you, some people can sleep through sound. I can't. You can always put in earplugs as well. And temperature is real important. 68 to 72 degrees is perfect temperature. So try to get your room at that level, and I think you're going to be very happy. Some folks complain as we get older that you wake up and pee a lot. So here's my trick. I stop drinking a lot of my fluids right around 3 o'clock in the afternoon so that, most of it's out of me by the time I go to sleep. I don't have to wake up and pee. Because if I wake up, I don't go back to sleep right away. Some people just lay down and fall back to sleep. I can't do that. So sleep is going to be real important to help your brain heal. Because you do the healing when you're sleeping. That's why little babies sleep so much, right? They eat, sleep, and go to the bathroom. What a great life, right? You're born like that and you die like that. So they're sleeping because the body is growing and it needs the energy to grow. So sleep is real important. Too much alone time. This is an interesting thing that sometimes I have to put on my psychiatrist hat when my patients come in our offices. But we're humans. We're wired to have social contact. We're wired to be gregarious. That means being in crowds. It's not about how many Facebook friends we have. What matters is a real sense of connection. How many people can you really call up and hang out with? If something happens in your life, this is a good question. If something happens in your life, good or bad, how many people would you want to call and tell them? You should have a few, maybe 2 at least. I have a friend of mine, his name is Lou, he's from New Jersey, and he comes in town every now and then. And nicest guy in the world, and he's so good at conversation, and I'm not. People always say it's funny because if I'm at a party or something, I'll usually sit in a corner. I'm not one to really talk that much. And he is so good at conversation, and I've learned so much from him because he has great questions. He asks you questions. He steers the conversation. And, he said that too, like if something happened in your life, who'd you call? If you could have any career in the world, what would you want to do? If you could be anywhere in the world right now, where would you want to be? And I thought, this is really good stuff, but it's a nice way to have a conversation. But I want you to think, who do you know that you would want to call if something good or bad happened? People who have that, with even just a few close friends, are happier and more productive. They're also less likely to suffer from brain decline and Alzheimer's. So if you feel alone, call some friends or start something new. Maybe you don't have a lot of friends. That's okay. Get out and be social. There are so many meetup groups. If you look online, type in your city and type in meetup groups. You couldn't go to all of the groups. It's impossible. I'm assuming most places, most big cities anyway. And say, okay, well, I'm a vegetarian. I'm a vegan. I haven't had animal products in 30 years. So if I ever had free time, I would say, okay, let me go join a couple of vegan meetup groups. And who could I hang out with? And let me sit down and hang out with these people. And even though I don't know them, at least I have somebody with something in common. Church groups are great. If you're single, singles groups. If you're married, couples groups. If you like playing chess, chess groups. So get out and meet people. It's going to help your brain. Another thing you can do for your brain, this is not a bad habit, this is a good habit, is what you're doing right now. Listening to this show. Because what's happening is whenever you listen to my shows, and that's why I archive all my shows on my website, and I never charge. I haven't charged yet. I may in the future. I don't know. But we have hundreds of hours of radio shows. I videotape my live lectures. They're all on my website, and they're all no charge. Because when you listen to these things, you're stimulating parts of your brain that have never been stimulated, perhaps before, because it's new information. And even if you've heard it before, it's awakening old memories. And you're saying, oh, that's right, I remember that. Dr. Joe talked about that 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And so by listening to the show, you're actually helping your brain work more efficiently. So instead of just listening to nonsense stuff on the radio if you're driving, go to my website, drjoeesposito.com, and just listen to show after show after show. And if you can watch it, watch the videos, because the videos are going to give you a lot of good information. Because some people are visual learners and some people are auditory learners. And I can show you things on the videos I can't show you on the radio because of so much of healthcare is physical, not chemical. And so let's talk about bad habits that hurt your brain from a physical standpoint. If you've ever been in a car accident, raise your hands. Ever had a sports injury, raise your hands. Ever bumped your head, raise your hands. These traumas can twist the bones out of place and pinch nerves. And if you pinch a nerve, it hurts, but 90% of the nerves don't feel pain. These are the nerves that go to the organs. Now, in your neck, you have a blood vessel called the basovestibular artery. You have two major sources of blood supply to your brain. Your carotid arteries in the front of your neck and the basovestibular artery in the back of the neck. And this one runs in between your bones. Your neck bones have little holes in them, and it runs through each one of those 7 neck bones or cervical vertebrae and goes up into your brain. If the bones twist out of place in your neck, car accidents, sports injuries, sitting at a computer too much, we all do it, you can block or kink off the basovestibular artery, essentially affecting blood supply up to your brain. And that can affect the nervous system. That can affect the brain function, which affects the nervous system. So there can be physical problems that can prevent your brain from functioning normally, as well as chemical problems. So that's why if you have neck pain, headaches, numbness, tingling, shoulder pain, these are all signs that you have probably pinched nerves. And the easiest way to fix a pinched nerve is, say it with me, unpinch it. Exactly. So if we can put the bones back in place and take the pressure off the nerves, that's going to also take the pressure off the blood vessels, because the nerves and the blood vessels, as they exit the spine, wrap around each other. So you can't have a pinched nerve without having a pinched blood vessel. So you got to open up the nerve and the blood supply when it comes out of the spine. So physically, you've done things to your body, and that could be adversely affecting your brain function. So that's why as a chiropractor, we work real hard with our patients to check all the bones in the body to make sure you don't have pinched nerves. So if you do, you need to fix it. It's just that simple. And this is the kicker. Been in practice 32 years now. The kicker is that people come into my office and I'll hear the same questions. It's almost like I can just play a tape of what the patient's going to say. Oh my gosh, why didn't I do this sooner? Because when they finally get relief, they're happy. Number 2, I would probably say about 30% of my patients on their first visit cry. And men and women, doesn't matter. And I know exactly why they're crying. Do you know why they're crying? Because for the first time in their lives, somebody gave them hope. And I had a patient say those exact words the other day. They said, Dr. Joe, for the first time in my life, someone has given me hope. I thought I was going to have to live with this condition forever. And in fact, one of my colleagues here at the radio station sent his wife in, horrible digestive problems all her life. I said, when did this start? She goes, I can't even remember. Maybe high school, maybe sooner. Horrible digestive problems, in her 40s now. And after 3 visits, she came in and she was a little teary-eyed. And I said, what's wrong? She goes, I feel great. I said, bowels are normal? She goes, normal, no constipation, no diarrhea. She goes, unbelievable. I can't. Now, this was 3 visits. Now, that's a rare case. Usually it takes more than that. And she said, this is just incredible. And patients say, why didn't I do this sooner? You've given me hope. And why didn't somebody else ever tell me about this? And the answer to all of those are, I don't know. Well, hope, of course, I know. But why didn't I do this sooner? Why didn't somebody else tell me about it? I have no idea. So that's why I want you to consider getting your body healthy. Part of that is getting the brain healthy, but fixing the structure as well. So if you have a healthcare problem, neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, numbness, tingling, digestive issues, and you want to come see us, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge. We would love to be your doctors. So go to my website if you want to make an appointment, drjoeesposito.com, or you can just Google Dr. Joe with the #1 Dr. Joe in the world, and we'd be more than happy to set you up a time to come see us. We accept patients with all insurances. We accept people without insurance, car accidents, sports injuries. I've never seen a car accident ever where the car was damaged where the occupants weren't. Ever. So you want to get that checked, whether it was yesterday or 20 years ago or 50 years ago. If the bones are out of alignment, every day that goes by, they're wearing out, developing arthritis, and causing more and more nerve impingement. So make an appointment, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe. We'd be more than happy to see you. Again, offices in Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge. 2 rules. If you make an appointment, you got to show up. Please, folks, I'm begging you. If you're not ready to get well, and patients come in all the time and say, Doc, I wasn't ready to get well 2, 4, 5, 10 years ago, but now I am. If you're not ready to get well, don't make an appointment. And so if you make an appointment, you got to show up and be ready to make some changes. I may recommend chiropractic care. I may recommend nutrition. I may recommend pulling your stomach away from your diaphragm. But if you're not ready to get well, don't make an appointment yet. When you are, go to the website, drjoeesposito.com. That goes for you, your friends, your family, and your children. So we're talking today about bad habits that you do to hurt your brain. And, of course, one of the things you do is you eat too much bad food. Parts of the brain linked to learning, memory, mental health are smaller in people. Parts of the brain are actually physically smaller in people that eat a lot of hamburgers, potatoes, French fries, and soft drinks. The typical American diet, what we call the SAD diet, the standard American diet. I talk about the 7 deadly sins of nutrition. These are the people that have smaller brains. And the 7 deadly sins are alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. And collectively, you all thought, my God, that's everything. That's my whole diet. How am I going to survive if I can't eat alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener? That's crazy. It's insane. Yeah, you'll make it. I haven't eaten that stuff in 30 years. I'm good. You could be good too. And like I said, a whole lot cheaper. So you want to eat things like berries, grains. If you're going to do grains, make sure it's quinoa, not wheat. I think it was last week we talked about how they harvest wheat. And many times they'll spray weed killer on the wheat harvest to kill the weeds and also kill the wheat plant so that it's easier to harvest. The stalks are dead, so it's easy to pull the wheat berries off. And so those pesticides or those weed killers are now in the wheat. And you're eating these wheats. So it's not just the gluten, which is a protein that's hard to digest, which causes allergic reactions. It's also a lot of the chemicals that are on the wheat. So I don't recommend eating wheat ever. If you do, which you shouldn't, it should only be organic, but never. Because it's still a sugar, too. And you want to cut down your sugar intake. So that's not a good thing. Green leafy vegetables are going to be great. The best foods are going to be fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. You know, that's why I made Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. We take fruits and vegetables, we juice them, take the water out at a very low temperature, and the sugar comes out. So what's left are essentially powdered fruits and vegetables. Quick, cheap, cheaper than what you're doing right now because you don't have to worry about buying it, cleaning it, preserving it. It's all done for you. Way, way less expensive. And then I add prebiotics, probiotics, digestive enzymes, a complete multivitamin. So I recommend the Super Greens and the Essential Source, 2 different products, and I recommend them every day, at least once a day. Now, if I'm going on a date, if I'm going hiking, if I'm going to do a bunch of radio shows or lectures, I'll usually take a second dose. You're going to be pretty happy. Most people are when they start taking it. They're thrilled with it. So staying away from the 7 deadly sins of nutrition, eat more fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, I have a feeling you're going to be very, very happy with that choice there. So next time you want to reach for a bag of chips, maybe go for a handful of nuts instead. Or instead of a bag of corn tortillas, maybe you can have a bag of carrots. Try it and see. And here's my challenge to you. Change your diet. See if you feel better. Take the Super Greens, the Essential Source. See if you feel better. If I'm right, great. If I'm wrong, so what? I was wrong. But I think you'll be very, very happy with the results, as most people are. And in fact, I can say this, that I don't know any patients that have ever done everything I said to do, change a diet, get chiropractic care, fix their stomachs, that have gone through a whole treatment plan and said, wow, I wish I'd never done that. I can't think of any patients right now. So if we got that kind of success rate, even if we got a 70% success rate, we're probably way in the high 90s. But if we have a 70% success rate, that's still better. You know, drugs, don't quote me on this, but I think it's a drug has to work 20% of the time in order to be considered effective. Now, most work more than that. I'm not taking that away from the drugs, but that's the minimum. Isn't that crazy? So imagine if you had control of your own health and it worked 100% of the time and you saved a ton of money and it's good for your brain. Because that's my goal, is I want to get your brain working the best it can so it can send messages down the spine, out the nerves to the body. Physically, we can pinch nerves and we got to fix that. And chemically, you may be altering it. And we got to stop you from altering your brain function. You'll be happy when you do. Be careful with headphones. This is a new phenomenon. New generation have this problem. Because when you put earbuds in at full volume, you can permanently damage your hearing in only about 30 minutes. That's not a real long time, is it? And it's not just your ears. Hearing loss in older adults is linked to brain problems such as Alzheimer's and loss of brain tissue. The loss of brain tissue. This is what's so cool about recent research. We can actually take functional MRIs of your brain. What that means is we can take an MRI in real time. We can take a picture of your, like a movie almost, of your brain, and then stimulate it or suppress it or make you think thoughts or have you dream. You're sleeping, and we can see what happens to the brain. And so often, we see the damaging effects of things like loud noise. We see the damaging effects of toxic chemicals. And so the evidence is there. There's no argument that changing your diet for the better is a good thing. There's no argument that if you have pinched nerves, you should unpinch them. Now, there may be an argument if there's a case where you can't unpinch it because there's cancer around the bone or something. But if you can get the nervous system working properly, the digestive system working properly, and a good diet, you now have a healthcare plan. We call that, what do we say it? Jobamacare. There you go. We call that Jobamacare. That's Dr. Joe's healthcare plan that if we incorporate this, we would change the United States. Yeah, we want to become fiscally responsible. Yeah, we want to have lower taxes. Yeah, we want to boom our economy. None of that is worth anything if you don't have your health. I had a friend of mine, he was a developer. He developed houses on this lake in northern part of the state and built beautiful houses. But boy, was he stressed out. He was yelling all the time. He was I wouldn't call him a friend, somebody I know. And he would show me the plans for his new mansion that he was building on the lake. And oh my God, it's beautiful. So this guy had money coming out his wazoo. People loved the work that he did. Early 50s. Jim died. I got a message. Jim died. What? Heart attack. So all the money in the world, man. He had the world by the horns. I'm Italian. I was going to say something else. He had the world by the horns. And he's dead. So without his health, none of that mattered. So if we can incorporate a good economy and lower taxes and a productive workforce and health, that's an amazing thing that this country can do. And we have the answers. It's not like the answers aren't there. They're just not being implemented. So be careful with sound. That's what we're talking about there for your brain. Got to get up and move. Most of us don't move enough. And I'm guilty of this too. Sometimes I'm at my office and I'm sitting, I'm answering emails. A lot of you send me questions through my website, drjoeesposito.com. I'm more than happy to answer your questions for you. And sometimes I sit and I catch myself for like an hour or two sitting and I'm like, oh, this isn't good. Like even right now, I'm in the studio, I'm standing. And I'm moving around. So try to get as much motion in your body as possible. And if you have a healthcare problem, you want to come see us. We have offices in Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge. Go to my website, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe, and you can set up a time to have you come see us. This is for you, your friends, your family, and your children. If you're going to make an appointment, make sure you show up and be ready to make some changes. If you're not sick and tired of being sick and tired, don't make an appointment. When you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, I want you in my offices. We accept all patients with all insurances. We accept patients without insurance, car accidents, sports injuries, workers' comp injuries. We want to be your doctors. And we'll do everything we can to help you naturally get well and stay well. Hey, folks, I got to go to a break. Hey, don't go anywhere. Do me a favor on the break. Tell your friends about the show. We're going to be right back. Hey, folks, thanks for staying with me. If you're just joining us, welcome. Glad you could be here. I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. And what we're talking about today is the things that you're doing that are damaging your brain. Now, as a chiropractor, this is important to me because your brain is where the neurological impulses start that go down your spine, out your nerves, and tell your heart to beat, your lungs to breathe, your eyes to see. And that's why we can live if we lose an arm, if we lose a leg, even if we lose a kidney. But the quickest way to kill you is to remove the brain from the spinal cord and the body, because then the brain can't tell the body how to work, and you're dead. It's just that simple. And so we want to take care of that brain because it's generating all those neurological impulses. Every time you read a study, it's more, like trillions a second to make the body work. I mean, you got to think, you got 80 trillion cells in your body. All of them have to be controlled by the brain. And so you could damage the brain physically or chemically. And chemically would be food, drugs, alcohol, environmental toxins. The brain needs to have motion. It needs to have stimulation. Your brain needs three things: oxygen, stimulation, and nutrition. So if your brain is going to work, it needs to have those three things. So oxygen is breathing. When I first got into radio, I used to sit down and do my shows. This is many, many years ago. And then someone much wiser than me said, why don't you stand up? And when you stand up, it'll open up your chest cavity, allow your diaphragm to drop, and you'll breathe better. And instantly, I saw a difference in my presentations. So standing is going to be real good. So try to stand up as much as you possibly can, and that's going to open up your lungs and help you breathe, and that's going to help get oxygen to the brain. And that's why exercise is important, because you huff and puff a little bit, that gets more oxygen. Stimulation. What you're doing right now is stimulating your brain. I know, nobody's watching. You can do it because you're listening to this show. And when you listen to the show, it's sending a lot of neurological impulses into the brain, and you're processing all this information. When I do a show and I do a lecture, my goal is this. I want to give you so much neurological input that your brain can't even process it all. But you pull out a lot of good stuff. And that's why I recommend you go to my website and listen to these shows over and over and over again. Because there's one lecture I do. It's on my YouTube channel, which is on my website. And it's called The 7 Deadly Sins of Nutrition. It's a video. And that's by far my most popular video, because it puts out so much information on what you need to do to control your health that people watch it 5, 10, 15 times. And then they finally go, okay, now I got it. Now, it's just like a song. If a new song comes on the radio, you go, oh, that sounds pretty cool. You don't know the words. You don't know the melody. But then after you hear it a few times, you kind of get the beat. And you say, oh, I know, I like that song. So just like hearing a song over and over again, you need to hear these shows and my lectures over and over again to get all this information. And that's why, no charge, on my website, drjoeesposito.com. Listen to them every chance you can. And it's wonderful because a lot of you listening around the world, thank you. I don't give the rest of the world enough thank yous. Thanks for listening around the world. We do appreciate this. You're making us soon, hopefully, becoming the #1 healthcare show in the world. It's going to happen soon. If we're not there already, we might even be there already. I'm not sure. But you have to hear things over and over again, and that's why we put it out there. So get up and move, and that's going to put stimulation into your brain as well as learning new things. Garden. Get out and dig a hole. Remember when I was in high school, I played football and hockey, and I would work out at the gym in the school. We didn't have gyms back then. And I had an uncle who lived a couple of blocks away from me, about a mile or so away, and I would jog to my uncle's house, and I hate running, by the way. So I'd jog to my uncle's house, and him and I would work out in his garage. And my grandfather, my father's mother, came over from Germany. I think it was 1923, got away from Hitler, from Germany, came to the United States, didn't speak a lick of English, and he would laugh at us. And he'd say, you want muscles? Here's a shovel, go dig a hole. And he makes a very profound statement there. Go dig a hole, because then you're using real muscle and creating work and generating a product. Moving muscles in a gym, not a bad idea, but nothing comes out of it. Why not take those same muscles that you're using, instead of just your biceps or just your triceps, how about you move all your muscles to dig a hole or plant a garden, mow the lawn, because those are going to use all your muscles, much more practical muscles as well. But that's neurological input up into your brain. So the brain needs to be stimulated, it needs oxygen, and it needs nutrition. And so many of us eat bad foods. And another thing we do is we overeat. I'll tell you a little story. I learned this back in college. I had a friend of mine, Frank Kinslow, great man. He was 15 years older than me. He was really old. He was like 35, and I was 20. And he taught me so much about the world, and I really appreciate that. And he's still a great guy. He lives down in Florida now, great man. And he taught me about Adam and Eve story. Now, the Adam and Eve story, from a Christian standpoint or from a Jewish standpoint, is Adam and Eve were in the garden, and God said, "Eat anything you want, but don't eat from the tree of the snake, the apple." And so Eve ate from the apple, the tree, and of course she was cast out of the Garden of Eden, and that was original sin. Well, if we read Sanskrit, which is Indian from India, a lot of their scripture, and in Sanskrit they talk about the same story, but with a different twist. God said to Adam and Eve, "You can have as much as you want of anything that you want, but don't take more than you need." And when Eve ate the metaphorical apple, she took one more bite than she needed. So in Sanskrit, original sin is gluttony. And so often we are guilty of gluttony every single day. We eat too much. So here's some tricks I want you to do to help your brain. Next time you have a meal, I want you to have a big glass of water before you eat it. Because most of us, when we're hungry, we're not hungry, we're thirsty. And when you're a baby, remember babies? I don't know if you remember when you were a baby, but you might have been around babies. And they always want to drink. I want to drink, I want to drink, I want to drink, I want to drink. I was out with a friend of mine the other day and her grandson, and we kidnapped the kid, give the parents a break. And we just took him out, and this kid just wanted to drink all day. A couple of months old. And so the kid just wanted to drink and drink and drink. Because there's a part of your brain that controls hunger and a part of your brain that controls thirst. As we get older, those two parts of the brain grow together. And now you have a real tough time distinguishing between hunger and thirst. And so as adults, many times when you're hungry, in fact, I'm going to say most times, you're not hungry, you're thirsty. So to avoid overeating, I want you to have a big glass of water, 8, 10, 12 ounces, about 10, 15 minutes before you have a meal. So if you go to a restaurant to order, take that water and chug it. And you're going to find you eat a lot less food. Number 2, it takes 20 minutes to get the messages from your stomach to your brain. So if you're eating something, you can eat a lot for 20 minutes and feel full and want to burst. Or you can eat a little bit of food, wait 20 minutes, and notice how much less you eat. That's pretty cool stuff right there. And I'm going to cut down on your food bills, going to cut down your food consumption, and extend your life. It's really cool stuff. So drink a big glass of water, eat a little snack. So if you want to do this the right way, glass of water half hour before your meal, 15 minutes or 20 minutes before your meal, I want you to have a handful of nuts, an avocado, a little snack. And what will happen is you're going to feel full and you're going to eat a lot less food because the stomach has to digest the food, produce a chemical called leptin. It's a hormone. It goes up into the brain, into the hypothalamus. Into the hypothalamus says, "I'm full, stop eating." So I'm going to help you get full before you even start eating your whole meal. And that's going to help your brain tremendously because your stomach can only hold so much food. Your stomach has a finite volume. And in fact, without being full of food, it's about the size of your fist. And so when you eat food, your stomach expands and stretches. So if I can get the stomach to start producing that leptin and get up to the hypothalamus before you start stretching out that bag that you call a stomach, you're going to eat a lot less food. And studies have shown that the less you eat within reason, the longer you're going to live. So we're going to add years to your life, quality to your life, help your brain, save money, feel better, sleep better, improve your love life. Where's the downside to this? There is no downside to this. And if you have a food that you absolutely positively have to eat, and it's one of the 7 deadly sins, alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener, do what I just said. You have to wait at least 20 minutes before you eat that food from finishing your meal or finishing your snack. And you're going to eat so much less of it. So we used to sit down and have a dessert, big piece of carrot cake. I used to like carrot cake, so I use carrot cake. Now you're going to take a bite of carrot cake. And you know what? Once it leaves your mouth, the pleasure's over anyway. So take that carrot cake, roll it around in your mouth, really enjoy it, and have 2 or 3 bites. And you'll eat a whole lot less food. And that's going to help tremendously with your brain function. Because if you put too much food in your body, in your stomach, different foods digest in different environments. So, for example, if you're digesting meat, now I don't eat meat, so I wouldn't know about this, but I used to eat meat. I can't say I never ate meat. It was 30 years. It needs a lot of acid in your stomach to break down the meat, to make the proteins into amino acids. So if you're going to eat a piece of meat, it takes about 6 hours to get from your stomach to your small intestine. If I was going to eat cantaloupe, which I had today as a matter of fact, cantaloupe takes about 20 minutes to get from my stomach to my small intestine. So if I'm going to eat a steak, which I'm not going to, hypothetically, and I'm going to eat some cantaloupe with it, that cantaloupe is going to sit in my small intestine for 6 hours when it should have been gone in 20 minutes while that meat digests. And in that process, sugar, warm environment, acid, it breaks down and produces things like an alcohol. So the food is essentially rotting in your stomach. So another trick we can do to help the brain, and even if you don't do this every day, just do it when you have an important event. You have a meeting, you're going on a date, you have a lecture you have to give, you have to stay awake for a test. Do what's called a mono meal. And what a mono meal is, just one or two types of food. One is the best. Because then the body is able to digest it and pass it into the small intestine. When you start mixing carbohydrates, fats, proteins all together, the body has a real tough time digesting all that. And when you do this, you'll be amazed how much better you'll feel by not combining a lot of food and not so much volume. Because your stomach is a sack of muscles. And it contracts. It's a movement called peristalsis. And it contracts and mixes the pepsin and pepsinogen, which is activated by the hydrochloric acid, a lot of chemistry there. And it mixes the chemicals in your stomach around and churns the food around in your stomach so that it mixes with the digestive enzymes and then passes into your small intestine where more digestion occurs. If you eat too much, your stomach has a tough time swishing around this bag. Imagine a Ziploc bag halfway full of liquid versus full of liquid. If it's full of liquid, you can't shake it around that much. And so the food sits in your stomach for too long and it rots. And when it rots, it can give off something called lactic acid. And lactic acid is a lot of times what people have when they have heartburn. The lactic acid is coming up into their throat. So it's not just hydrochloric acid, pepsin, and pepsinogen. It's also the lactic acid from the rotten food, and that's called acid reflux. So the food is sitting in your stomach too long because it's not digesting. So what we have to do when I find cases like that, in a bad case, it's called a hiatal hernia. And if the acid eats away at that valve called the lower esophageal sphincter valve, you get something called Barrett's esophagus, where scar tissue actually forms. And now that little valve, right where your stomach and your esophagus come together, should open and close. It can't. So now food chronically keeps refluxing up into your throat. The danger of that is, A, you're not digesting your food properly, but B, that acid can eat away at your esophagus and lead to things like esophageal cancer, chronic runny nose, coughing all the time, sore throat, because the acid is eating away at your esophagus and coming all the way up into your sinuses. So I have a lot of patients with sinus problems, and when we massage or pull the stomach down away from the diaphragm, we actually adjust the stomach, their sinuses clear up. A, they're breaking down their proteins more efficiently, so the protein isn't getting absorbed into the body, causing an allergic reaction. And B, you're not getting the acid coming up into the throat. And a lot of people even have eaten away gums. And a dentist used to believe that was from brushing too hard, which it still could be, but it could also be from acid coming up into your throat and getting onto your gums and eating away at your gums. So if you have acid reflux, heartburn, burping, gas, those are real serious problems. You need to pull the stomach away from the diaphragm so that you can start digesting your food. And we're talking today about brain function. What happens there is your stomach's job is to take proteins and break them into amino acids. And the amino acid tryptophan becomes serotonin in your brain. Serotonin helps you focus and calm down. Serotonin becomes melatonin, which helps you sleep. So we're talking today about brain function. And if you're not getting enough sleep, it could be because your stomach is not breaking the proteins into amino acids to produce the neurotransmitters, to produce the melatonin, to make you sleep. Follow all that? Hope you did. If you didn't, by the way, I'm going to archive this on my website, which is drjoeesposito.com. And you can go there and listen to this and hundreds of hours of other shows, absolutely no charge. My gift to you. We videotape my lectures. You can watch videotapes. I love it when people come in and say, Dr. Joe, I've been watching your videotapes for years now. Oh, my gosh, I learned so much. Because videotapes are fun because it's me jumping around and showing you things. Here on radio, you just hear me. And, in fact, we're going to be making plans are we're going to take this radio show and make it a TV show. And I talked to the producers of the TV. They came to me and they said, listen, we want to make a TV show out of your radio show. And I said, okay. I said, you sure? It's really not that exciting. It's me in a studio talking into a microphone. I got a couple of notes spread around. And I said, no, I think you're going to be fine. And so I had a couple of the executives from the TV stations come in. And they sat and watched me for a couple of hours. And after 20 minutes, the one guy took off his headset. He looked at me and says, you're awesome. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, you're going to do great on television. Because even when I'm on the radio, I'm still jumping around and I'm very animated. So hopefully that'll come soon. When it comes out, of course, I'll let you know. If you have a healthcare problem, neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, digestive problems, anxiety, depression, high blood pressure, we would love the opportunity to have you come into our offices to see if there's something we think we can help. So if you're ready to get well, you can make an appointment at our chiropractic offices. We have offices in Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge. Go to my website, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe, with the number one Dr. Joe in the world, and we'll get you set up. We accept people with all insurances. We accept people without insurances. We accept people that have been in car accidents, sports injuries. A lot of people, I know this show goes all over the world. People will fly in and spend time with us. We've signed forms already for the State Department to allow patients to come see us, and they get visas to come see us because people want to get well, and they don't know what to do. We have people from other countries saying, why don't you come to our country and set up a practice here? Because we want you here. Well, I'm a little busy. But I would love that opportunity, actually. And if there's doctors out there who'd like to join our team, we'd more than, let us know from all around the country or around the world. Let us know, and maybe we can get together and maybe set up a working relationship. But if you want to set up a time to come see us, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe. We'll set you up a time to come see us. You have to be ready to get well. If you're not ready to get well, don't make an appointment, and you better show up. Because every now and then somebody makes an appointment and doesn't show up, and that really throws everybody's schedule off, and that's just not cool. So if you don't want bad karma, okay, my grandmother will call you the evil eye, my Italian grandmother. You got the maluk. The Italians are all laughing now. But if you don't want the evil eye, you better show up for your appointment. And so you can do it on the website, drjoeesposito.com. So we want to keep talking about what's happening with the brain. And if your stomach is breaking food into amino acids become neurotransmitters, the brain is able to work. I have never, in all the years I've been seeing patients, 35 plus years now, I have never had a patient who had an emotional problem, anxiety, depression, bipolar, even suicidal, who didn't have a digestive problem that was undiagnosed or not treated. And when we get the stomach out of spasm and it starts breaking the proteins into amino acids, the amino acids become neurotransmitters. I had one fella come in the other day, and he attempted suicide a few months ago. And him and his wife were desperate. They're like, we don't know what to do. And he says, I want to get well. I'm just so depressed. And we started working on his stomach and working on his spine, unpinching the nerves, getting the stress off the nervous system. And he came in a few weeks later, and he was smiling. And as I said, do you see he's smiling? She goes, I saw that. That's exciting. He goes, I think we're going to get there, Doc. So it's really important that a lot of the emotional problems are physical problems, which are causing chemical problems, which are causing emotional problems. And so you have to physically get the body working and then get good diet. You got to put the right chemistry in. That's why I invented Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. The absolute minimal amount of nutrients you should be taking every day. We ship these products all over the world. Mary, my marketing director, she'll come to me all the time and say, Doc, we got to ship these to England, and they ordered a whole case or whatever, and the shipping's going to be $80. And I said, that's okay. Think of what you're getting for the quality product. When she first started working there, she said this. And she said, I never thought of it like that before. And so her mindset changed, and she said, listen, for small, heck, you went to the emergency room, you're going to spend multiple times that. And here they're getting months and months supply of product. And so I think almost everybody, should be taking Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. That's on my website, drjoeesposito.com. It's also available on Amazon. So you have an Amazon account, you can order it there. And then what we do is we work up a nutrition protocol, not just with Super Greens and Essential Source, but we find out what your specific needs are. I take Withenia, I take Eleuthero, I take omega-3 fatty acids. I take an algae form of omega-3 fatty acids because I don't do fish. And so I have my own protocol that I've put together for my needs a man my age with my symptoms, I take these supplements. For you, we put together a customized plan as well. And I tell people, listen, do it for 60 days. When patients come in our offices, we say, do the chiropractic care for 60 days, do the dietary changes for 60 days, and do the supplements for 60 days. If I'm wrong, so what? Cost you a couple of bucks and a little bit of time. If I'm right, which I am, you'll be very happy and you'll wish you had done it sooner. And so for people that can't come to us, if you're not in our area, we could always do nutritional consultation over the phone, or we can do a workup for you, over the phone. We do it on Skype, or we do a lot of phone consults. But I really want you guys to get well. And I'm on a mission, and my mission is to change the way we do healthcare around the world, not just in the United States, but around the world. And it's easy. You have control of how much volume food you eat. You have control of how many fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds you eat versus alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. You have control over how your sleep goes. And there are certain things you don't have control over that you may need to come see us for, the physical issues. So don't eat too much. That's a big problem. Try not to stay in the dark too much. If you work a weird shift, a night shift, try to set up full spectrum lighting. Not the bulbs, the fluorescent bulbs. Those are not full spectrum. And also, fluorescent bulbs do not just put out light. They strobe. They flash. Now, they're flashing so fast. I have them here in the studio, so I'm looking at one right now. They flash so fast that you can't see it. But it's like a strobe light. And a lot of people will get headaches from the strobing light. So start to do this. When you have symptoms, write down what you eat. And then in the column, in the margin, write down how you feel. I have brain fog. I have fatigue. I've got blurred vision. Then write down where you are. Because if let's assume I'm in the studio and they have fluorescent lights here, and the fluorescent lights are bothering me, well, gosh, every time I come to the studio, I get a headache. Well, bring in a full spectrum lamp with you. If you work at an office somewhere, shut off the above lights and bring in a full spectrum lamp light and use that as a light. Here in the studio, it's dark. There's only a window, but I could always shut off the lights in the studio if I needed to and just have the light coming in from the hall. It's not the direct fluorescent, but it would be better. But the best thing would be get a full spectrum light and just have it glow there. So start taking control of the things you have control over. Supercharge your memory. Listen to the radio shows. Read my books. Watch my videos. And again, I have no benefit if you go to my website and watch the videos or listen to the shows. I don't get paid for that. But you're going to get all this neurological input to help the brain work better, and you're going to learn so many tricks. And you might listen for an hour or two and pull one trick out of it. Good. That's great. And incorporate that into your life. Consider what you have, a symptom, and why do I have the symptom? Don't just treat the symptom, treat the cause. Why do I have this symptom? Of course, as a chiropractor, I always check the nervous system first because there's probably pinched nerves causing it. But then you want to look at your diet. Write down what's happening. Boy, I do see a pattern, Doc. Took me years to figure it out. That I get a headache when I eat chocolate. And I don't eat a lot of chocolate, but every now and then if there was organic, vegan, dark chocolate, I'd have a piece. And I was dating this gal, Lynn, and she said, I can't eat chocolate. I always get headaches. And then one day I ate chocolate. I had a headache. She goes, did you eat? Why do you? I said I had a headache. She goes, did you eat chocolate? And I said, yeah, as a matter of fact, I did. And she said, I bet you're having a reaction. So I did a test. No chocolate for a week. Had a piece of chocolate. Got a headache. Well, there you go. Wasn't rocket science to figure that one out. But you can do a lot of self-diagnostics by just being aware of your own body. And all these things that you're doing are going to help the brain. Stay in motion. Eat the right foods. If you have pinched nerves, get them fixed by your chiropractor. Fix your digestive system. At least take Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. If your bowels aren't moving 2 to 3 times a day, we have something called Dr. Joe's Intestinal Cleanser. That's on the website as well, or on Amazon. All those products are on Amazon as well. Read my books. Those are on Amazon and on my website. And you're going to be amazed when you start this journey of trying to get well and stay well. You'll be very happy that you did. Now, if you want to make an appointment to come see us, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge. My website is drjoeesposito.com. You can just Google Dr. Joe with the number one Dr. Joe in the world, and we'll set you up a time to come see us. We accept people with all insurances. We accept people without insurance. We accept everybody as a patient. If you need health care, we want to get it to you. Car accidents, if you were ever in a car accident, if the car was damaged, you were damaged 100% of the time. So don't think that you weren't damaged. You were. Because no one in the history of cars has ever been in a car accident where the car was damaged and they weren't. So I recommend for you, your friends, and your family, go to my website right now, make an appointment, or you can call us, and we'll set you up. We have offices in Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge. We want to be your doctors. We want to help you get well and stay well. So if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired and you're ready to get well, no time like the present. The biggest complaint I get from my patients is, why didn't I do this sooner? Hey, folks, thanks for listening. Tell your friends about the show. We'll catch you next time.